And you digital classroom, what's up, my friends? It's 4306 coaching mental health, and I just wanted to make a really quick video as sort of an intro to the first presentation. So you'll see now there's a presentation loaded to the site and on YouTube called Layers of Mind, and this is going to be our kind of introduction lecture, and I got its follow-up one coming soon. And one thing you'll notice with me is how do I say this nicely? I don't know, my lectures get a little long. I think that like some of the what you don't have in this course in terms of reading requirements, you sort of have in terms of like absorbing the content requirement, right? So it's like all I mean by that is like if you're thinking like, oh, honestly, I just don't really know how your other teachers are doing too much. Like if some teachers are giving shorter presentations and then a bunch of readings, or I'm not sure what they're doing, but what I'm going to be doing is making longer presentations and having less like extra stuff, right? So it'll be like each week I'll do a couple of these kind of longer presentations, and I'm going to really try to be conscious of this fact that like my students are actively involved in other things right now, right? Like it's like everybody's spring. It's like spring cleaning's in the air. It's like tough sometimes at the end of the winter semester to keep the college students focused, and understandably, right? Because it's like they're starting to I'm talking about my Kitchener students because they're starting to get into their next programs or like whatever. It's the end and the summer's the pull, and it's funner to be outside, and work obligations are ramping up, and friends, and starting to see people more, and I get all that. So I totally don't want this course to be burdened in the sense of like you're like, oh, another video, like, and maybe you will be a little bit like that, but my argument to you is, at least in your mind, let that replace like the huge amounts of reading, right? So instead of giving you like 3 hours of reading, I'm gonna make a 2 hour video or whatever. And I think like partially I feel like if I'm gonna really have this any kind of impact on you, I need to get on the I need to like lace up my shoes and get in the game with you, right? And it's like, I don't think giving you a reading list teaches you really much about mental health. Like, yeah. And again, I should clarify what I'm saying, because it's like most of what I learned from reading, and it's like you learn tons from reading, and you're probably all good readers. It's like, I got asked by Roxana, the chair of CHSF, CHFS. I say it different every time, but if you're one of those students, I love you. It's just the acronym that messes me up. It's the chair of that program asked me, like, would you consider doing a special interest course on coaching mental health? And we chatted about it. She's Roxana's she's actually my friend, the only person I kind of know at Nipissing besides my students. And I thought a lot about it. And I apologize for some of my pauses and stuff, but it's just like in this Prezi, there's no. Actually, I noticed that there is a trim function, but I think it's just trimming the ends. Like this Prezi video is pretty dope. But one way it could really step up is if it had like a sister program editor. Like if it had like if I could snap my video out and actually start to splice and cut. Basically had like if I could just like kind of rip off some of the slicer from either Acid Pro or from like Premiere Pro or something like that. Still, I think I'm getting massive off topic already, but like if you're interested in audio stuff, like I'm an Acid Pro guy. Like I think I remember like Acid Pro 7, now it's like Acid Pro 10, and that's a Sony product. So Sony's big audio production tool is Acid Pro, and their big at least used to be, now it's called like Magic Studio or something, but if you just googled Acid Pro, you'd find it. And then Vegas Pro was like their video. Then you have like this is like given a little bit of a weird random history lesson. And then there was like the Adobe Premiere Pro, and then Premiere Rush is like kind of like their phone version. And those have kind of been on my radar. Those are kind of things that I've played with. And then like I know some people with audio use Audacity, and I think like if you're getting into podcasts and stuff, one thing Audacity's amazing with is like if this was just audio, I could take this after and I could like pull out the little mistakes I make. And here's another trick: if you're if you're editing audio, that actually is kind of a tongue twister. One good idea is like, so say if I'm recording this, I record a little bit of blank extra air, because actually if you have me talking and you cut out my like breaths or whatever, it actually, me not talking right now isn't zero sound. There's some ambient noise, right? So if you can't replace that, it actually sounds like, you've heard probably podcasts where it sounds like the person's like cutting in and out, and it's their, because there's no replacement background noise. Okay, could I get more off topic? The purpose of this first lecture was to just kind of, well, to start to set the stage. We're setting the stage now, right? And we're looking at this idea of what would layers of mind mean? What does this mean that you're actually in layers of mind? This is kind of a throwback to a great conversation I once had in this term, right? And like layers of mind is a very Jungian idea, and it's like, what's this idea that you're actually a complex person, right? And you have like all these factors that are influencing you. You're not just your emotions. It's like you're not just your affirmations. You're not just like your thought patterns. You're not just your intimate relationships. You're not just your close relationships. You're not just your style of perceiving stressful situations. You're not just your style of responding to that response. You're not just how you act when you're upset. To understand that is a massive unpacking job. It's like we actually need to start with, okay, who are you? Who is this world? What does upset mean? What does it mean to be upsetted by things external? What does it mean to be upset by things internal? Upsetted is probably not a word. But like, this is why with this course, I think it's going to be not maybe what you expect, but my hope for you and my request is to give it a chance, and I hope that by the end you'll sort of see my point. And I think with any good point, it's like we or any good course as a group, we sort of move towards trying to get a higher resolution of what we're talking about. And part of that is we need to build our kind of common language, right? This is kind of a point that relates to the lecture that's coming up, is like some of the reasons why it's important to not just talk about the topic, but talk about things around the topic, is so that when I'm talking about the topic, you understand sort of what I'm meaning, at least when I say things. And again, you'll hear me say this a lot of times. It's like one of my most important points as a professor is I want you to have your own cognitive autonomy. I want you to think your own thoughts. I want you to think that you can agree with me or disagree with me based on your thoughts. And it doesn't have to be emotional. It doesn't have to be personal. It's like there's this incredible invitation that lies before you to engage with the ideas of the people that came before you. And it's like if I like spur your curiosity a tiny bit in any direction on any of these things, it's like kind of worth it. It's like it's really a relationship between, well, you and your ancestors. It's like, what's the value in reading Plato? What's the value in reading Franco? What's the value in reading Nietzsche? It's like, well, the value is you'll it's almost like saying, well, what's the value of working out? What's the value of trying to build better relationships with your wife or boyfriend or girlfriend or whatever? What's the point of wanting financial security? What's the point? It's like, well, at a certain point, it's like how nihilistic is the questioner. It's like the point is life is tough, and so what are you going to do? People around you depend on you fighting as hard as you can and trying to do things that are pulling in the direction of good. And if you can say that, then I don't know. To me, this is getting off point, but to me, then you're a good person. It's like full stop. So I think that like what I'm trying to do with this course is say, like, it's actually a hard question. How do you coach mental health? How do you coach something that everyone's struggling with? How do I coach something that I at times struggle with, right? And it's like, and all I mean by that is like, who hasn't struggled at all with mental health these last 2 years? And the storm of mental health issues that's coming with the kids. And you're going to be people that can help those kids. And maybe that almost got me like emotional. It's like, maybe that's the point of this course. It's like, I'm trying to do my little part to train you to do that. Because you're not going to have to look very far in your own world to find people that could use some mental health coaching. So again, let's get into this. Thanks for taking the course, lovies. Have a great day. Be positive. Call a friend that you haven't talked to in a while. And you'll get used to me. I'm kind of ranty, and I get like weirdly like, because I'm trying. The thing is it's not like I'm like, oh, that's a good point. Interesting point. It's like, I'm honestly trying to almost talk to you. And then it's like, sometimes while I'm trying to explain things, we'll get to like an idea that wasn't, like, as you can tell, like, I'm obviously not using notes, but like, again, that's why people go to therapy. People go to therapy because you can sometimes get to places in conversation that you can't get to by yourself. It's why people write. It's why people play music. It's like Carl Jung said, it's like there's the instrument, and then there's the person playing the instrument, and then there's the music. But there's the lines that connect those things are the most interesting part. There's martial arts, and there's a martial artist practicing his martial art, and there's who that person is. There's an athlete, and there's a person, and it's like, it's talking about kind of phenomenological levels. It's like there's you, and you exist in a world, and you're doing things in that world, and all three of those things, that's Bandura. It's actually Albert Bandura, right? That's reciprocal determinism. Like, you influence your world influences you influence your behavior influences who you are. Your behavior also influences your world. Your behavior will influence how the people around you react to you. That's going to influence your mental health. Video 2 coming soon. I hope you like the course. I'll say that about 1,000,000 times. But sending you best wishes from Kitchener. Hope you have a good day. Cheers.